Welcome to Enchanted Astrology with Ariel Smith. Thank you so much for joining as we take a look at the astrological forecast for the week of April 29th until May 5th. Now, this week we have a Scorpio full moon. We have a Mercury entering Taurus, and we also have a couple of squares. We have Mars squaring Jupiter and Mercury squaring Pluto. So a lot of energies to unpack this week, so let's go ahead and dive in. Now we start this week off with the Scorpio full moon on May 1st at approximately 11:25 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, and this is occurring at 11 degrees of Scorpio. Now the Sun just completed its square to Pluto last week, highlighting where we've been placing our self-worth in something outside of ourselves. Pluto challenged those attachments, asking us to look at what we rely on for our sense of value and stability. And now, with the Taurus Sun opposite that Scorpio Moon, what's hidden beneath that desire for stability is now being revealed. So this full moon is exposing where our sense of self-worth has been built on something external, and that's something we may not have fully understood or integrated yet. So Scorpio reveals what's hidden within that Taurus desire for stability. During a Scorpio full moon, deeper emotional or psychological truths come to the surface and expose where our sense of stability in Taurus is built on something that we haven't fully acknowledged or integrated. So we stop trying to make the world predictable enough to feel safe, and we start trusting our own ability to handle an unpredictable world. So this full moon, you may discover that the safety you were building through control was actually costing you your freedom. And there is a choice here instead, a choice to begin anchoring safety in your own capacity to handle uncertainty, while at the same time still honoring what matters to you. The Scorpio full moon is about stabilizing the inner self. In Taurus, we hold ourselves up and build a sense of safety and security using the external world, almost like scaffolding. And as long as we can control the world to act in ways that make us feel safe, we can feel secure. But this moon is showing that we are not building a sense of inner trust and stability this way. So rather than saying, I will be safe as long as I have XYZ, we are realigning to, I will be safe no matter what, because I deeply trust myself, and I trust my ability to navigate the changing world. So this could be facing a fear, maybe even your worst fear, but that doesn't mean it comes true. It just means you finally feel ready to look at it in the eye, to see it for what it is, and no longer live under its shadow. Now, this Scorpio full moon is conjunct the fixed star Alphecca, which is at 12 degrees of Scorpio. And Alphecca it's actually a binary star system located in the Corona Borealis constellation, or the Northern Crown. It is associated with the weight of the crown being both a blessing and a curse. There's a sense with this star of understanding the true cost of something and the ability to accept both the good and the bad from life. In mythology, Ariadne helped the hero Theseus slay the Minotaur and find his way back out of the maze. Otherwise, he would likely have been trapped in there. And Ariadne fell in love with Theseus and was later abandoned by him. But Dionysus found Ariadne and fell in love with her just as she was, without needing anything from her, and he made her his queen. And as a wedding gift, he gave Ariadne the crown, with Alphecca, the crowned jewel, being the brightest star in that crown constellation. So, since Alphecca is the brightest jewel in the crown, it speaks to the understanding that loss can sometimes make room for something better. Endings can mark new beginnings. It is the ability to be able to see the good in an otherwise challenging situation. If Ariadne had not been abandoned by Theseus, she never would have met Dionysus and would not have been loved for who she is instead of what she can do for someone, as was the case with Theseus. So the true cost of trying to maintain a steady, predictable world so we can feel safe on the outside is costing our soul's freedom on the inside. And sometimes trusting what is changing on the outside can bring us something even better than we could have imagined for ourselves. In this full moon, the Taurus Sun is in a trine with the Self node, and the Moon is in a trine with the North node. So whatever the Sun in Taurus has been holding on to, trying to control or maintain, is meant to fall away, and its purpose has been served, and it's not meant to follow us forward into this next cycle. And the fear beneath what is being revealed with the Scorpio full moon is now ready to be accepted and healed. With the trine to the North node in Pisces, there is an energy where it almost feels like fate, divine timing, and like you even have help in healing what is causing the fear so you can reclaim that part of yourself. And it can almost feel like an effortless healing. You could sense that something you couldn't seem to get over before is now all of a sudden less intense for you. You could sense that something that used to bring up pain and fear just no longer have the same effect on you. You are healing, moving beyond it, reclaiming it, and relating to it in a whole new way. It could almost not even feel like you if that pain was something you previously over-identified with. So the effortlessness here is an energy where you could be saying, I can't believe this doesn't bother me anymore. I never thought I would be able to get over this. When Ariadne was abandoned by Theseus, I'm sure she must have felt like it's something she would never be able to heal. But once she reclaimed her self-love through accepting it from Dionysus, that it would have brought enough healing to the wound from Theseus that it would not be able to hold her in that much pain again. And this is how I'm feeling this Scorpio full moon with the aspect to the nodes. And because during this full moon, we also have Mercury conjunct Chiron in Aries at 27 degrees. This is the last time Mercury will be conjunct Chiron in Aries, as Chiron will move on to Taurus later in June. So Mercury is finally understanding something about this wound to the self that he couldn't see before or couldn't quite make sense of. And now with this full moon, And that last conjunction between Mercury and Chiron in Aries, Mercury receives an understanding that brings a sense of healing to this wound in Aries. Now, during this full moon, we also have Saturn in Aries receiving a supportive sextile from both Venus in Gemini and Pluto in Aquarius. And I'm seeing this as scaffolding falling away. Saturn is in fall in Aries. And with the support of Venus and Pluto, the sense of self that was previously relying on all this external scaffolding to hold it up, to stabilize it, is becoming more and more stable internally as the renovations have been underway, and the scaffolding is now ready to come down. We are now ready to expose some of the beautiful architecture underneath. And the Scorpio full moon is in conjunct both Venus and Saturn, and this could feel like what you were holding close, trying to maintain or control to feel safe, just doesn't resonate with you anymore. It could feel like you are ready to let it go, like you are ready to let go of the old version of self that held on to those things. And you are ready to move forward, head held high without them. Now, the next day on May 2nd, we will have Mercury enter into Taurus. Mercury in Taurus is now actualizing the new sense of self in the material world. So, what new sense of self was discovered with these planets traversing through Aries with this full moon, with the closing out of that Chiron wound, is now getting tested and lived in the material experience. So Mercury in Taurus is slow and deliberate. It is very methodical since it is focused on turning ideas into something tangible. It is going to learn more about itself through its lived experience, through the senses, and putting to test what it remembers from its time in Aries. So Mercury in Taurus is going to take what he learned in Aries, and he's now going to live it and become that version of himself. That's the version that doesn't rely on the scaffolding anymore. He is ready to move through the world without it and to see what he learns through slow, consistent choices every day. Then on May 4th, we have Mars in Aries forming both a square to Jupiter in Cancer and a trine to the moon in Sagittarius. So Mercury in Taurus wants to hold things until they are fully formed, whether it's thoughts, ideas, words, as it's a slow moving energy. But when our sense of security, protection, or personal beliefs get involved, we can sometimes act impulsively and without thinking. But the moon here is supporting that Mars energy, gifting him with the bigger picture, with a need for truth and freedom, which won't come from staying stuck in inherited survival patterns. So there can be a challenge to old belief systems, but with the moon supporting Mars, it feels like there is enough levity here to see the bigger picture and ultimately rise above the lower survival reactions. And the next day on May 5th, we have Mercury in Taurus forming a square to Pluto in Aquarius, and at the same time, Mercury is also receiving a supportive trine from the moon in Capricorn. Now, Mercury in Taurus has the daunting task of trying to build a sense of security and self-worth in a time where the way we think about security and identity is completely and irreversibly changing. Pluto in Aquarius is challenging the way we think and the way we understand ourselves and even our identities. So Mercury in Taurus is trying to stabilize the self, gain a sense of security and safety. And Pluto in Aquarius is dismantling the sense of self just as quickly as Taurus can stabilize it. It is like trying to build a house in the middle of a windstorm, and this can quickly become very disheartening or frustrating. But the Capricorn moon here is able to compartmentalize and contain the emotional experience so that Mercury can keep functioning through what might feel like chaos. Capricorn moon will stay practical, functional, and focused on the long term regardless of what is going on around it. Capricorn moon is dedicated, so instead of its sense of security disappearing altogether, it says, okay, my usual way of building security is rapidly changing, so I will adapt and evolve my process to stay functional. So our mind here is being asked to evolve beyond what we have normally relied on for safety. We are being guided to build a sense of security that can withstand change and function within a changing environment. And with the support from that Capricorn moon in this square aspect here, we absolutely can accomplish that. Well, that is all I have to report for this week's astrology. This week's yin yoga practice is on the Scorpio full moon, as it is a big event and a big energy to move through. So if you would like to join that practice, that is available through the yoga studio at enchantedAstrology.ca. And as always, thank you so much for listening in today. I truly appreciate being able to share with each one of you. And I will be back next week with another episode.